You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
I got Fantha.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file.
That doesn't sound too hard.
Boom! This is Making Tracks.
This is the way.
Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
I know these people. They are brutal. Does this look Jedi to you?
That's not how the Force works.
They'll never see it coming.
Count me in.
Lisa back.
You're listening to Making Tracks and a very special episode as we return once again to Festival of the Force in Newark. Fantha Tracks were there for the day. I was fortunate enough to be the stage host for the proceedings, which meant I got to speak to some very, very cool Star Wars guests. Coming up in this episode, we have Silas Carson, James Manchand, Jack Klaff and Richard Oldfield. And let's kick off with my chat with Silas. Silas played numerous characters in the prequel trilogy, including Nute Gunray. So here's myself and Silas at Festival of the Force.
So we're back. I'm here with Silas. How's life with you?
Life is very good with me, thank you. Yeah, I'm very well. Happy to be here. It's a great show today.
It is, it's lovely. It's just looking out, we've got the best seat in the house here.
We have.
Just looking out, seeing the whole room laid out in front of us, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And people willing to listen. Obviously, Star Wars event.
Yes.
Nice, busy Star Wars event.
Yes.
Your entry into the galaxy far, far away. Can you give us a little bit of detail into how the roles came to you?
Yeah, gosh, it's such a long time ago, wasn't it? I was very fortunate in as much as I was interviewed by Robin Gerland, who was George Lucas's PA. I mean, she was kind of just doing a round of interviews amongst people in London, actors in London. And I've told this story before. I used to be embarrassed by it, but now I'm not. When I was a kid, I'd never seen the Star Wars franchise. I hadn't seen any of the movies. I grew up, I know it's weird, isn't it? I grew up in a small town called Eastbourne down the south coast. There was one cinema, and I was just really, really busy at school. And I didn't go to the cinema much, and I hadn't seen the films. So my agent calls up and said, okay, there's this person called Robin Gerland. She works for George Lucas, and I'm like, I know who that is. And he said, and so they're making new Star Wars films. And I went, but they've already done that, haven't they? That happened years ago. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't know this is happening. They're making prequels. And I was like, oh. So I went along, just had an interview with Robin, and we got on really, really well. But I told her that story. She said, so obviously you know the Star Wars movies. And I said, nah, I've never seen them. And she was like, she thought I was kidding. I was like, no, I've never seen them. I have no idea what you're talking about. And she said, well, you know all about Darth Vader and Yoda. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, this whole interview was played back to George Lucas. And apparently, he really liked the fact that I didn't know anything about them and that I was completely honest about that situation. So he said, okay, I want to meet this guy. And we met and we just talked about various different things.
Yeah.
There's a couple of little pilot roles. I ended up playing one. One was scrapped. And then we went for a walk and had a look at the creature department where somebody had sculpted a beautiful head that was about to become Ki-Adi-Mundi. And I stopped at this thing and I said, oh my God, this is a beautiful piece of work. Who is this character? And they said, well, we're thinking that it might be one of the Jedis, one of the Jedi Masters. We're still working on, the concept. I was like, oh, I'd love to do something like that. And so, this is how it happened. It, literally, just from getting on with them, these various different roles emerged. And once I'd done a prosthetic test, because a lot of people can't wear prosthetics, they're very claustrophobic. Once I'd done one and it was fine, and I'd done some work on Ki-Adi, then Nute Gunray came up and they said, would you be prepared to be inside him? And I was like, I'll be inside him, but I need to do the voice as well. I'm not going to act it if I'm not the voice. And Robin Gerland was like, Silas, you've already played a pilot. You're doing the voice for Ki-Adi-Mundi. You can't do a third voice. And I went, yeah, I can, listen. And I brought her the next day a tape of silly cartoon voices that I do, because I've done a lot of voiceover work. I said, listen to how varied my voice can be. So she listened to it overnight and came back and said, all right, you can do the voice. So, it just it all grew out of itself. me being cocky, first of all, and not knowing anything about the universe, second of all.
There's a beautiful purity to going into a scenario, especially as an actor, literally. Look at Ki-Adi-Mundi's head and just go, that's a beautiful piece of work. I might go in and kind of know the species or the guy that played it before or whatever it might be. It's a different relationship with the potential of what you can do with it. I can see why they would be attracted by that.
I wasn't scouting for work. I literally saw the head and it was just like, this is a beautiful...
Exactly.
Because it's and so many people come and, they ask for pictures and they talk about Ki-Adi. Everybody goes, I love this character so much. That was my initial reaction to the just the head, the face. It's like he looks like a kind of wise, old, indigenous kind of master.
Yeah.
That kind of look to him. They're like, yeah, that's exactly the thing. It was very genuine. I just thought it was a beautiful piece of artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you say you go to the creature shop and start seeing these characters and the mechanics of what would become, the Nemoidians, especially the Nemoidians. They do tests to make sure that, I guess some people's skin doesn't work with the glue. There's a lot of things in that.
Yeah, the Nemoidians are really awkward characters to play because Ki-Adi-Mundi is prosthetic foam.
Yeah.
And it's glued onto the face. Actually, I have a nose piece as well. But my eyes and my mouth are free to move. And once that stuff goes onto your face, it's very easy to wear. Your skin can breathe through it. It's very, very simple. So that's quite comfortable work. But the Nemoidians are a huge helmet that goes over your head with loads of wiring and gizmos and things inside. And that's horrible to wear. I'm sure you guys have seen photographs of them feeding air into our mouths in between takes. We're literally like sucking the air in because it's so claustrophobic in there. And not a lot of people can do that. There were times when I think the longest we were able to be in them was 25 minutes to half an hour, and then they'd have to get us out.
Yeah.
Because it was just such hard work. But people would start to panic after that time. So not everybody can manage that. And I didn't know if I would be able to until I tried it.
There can't be. I'm racking my brains. We spoke before, but I'm racking my brains to think of another performer who, you're one of the very first faces we see on screen in Phantom anyway.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, one of the pilots, and then to have prosthetics within the latex, and then to be inside a creature performance head as well. Yeah. I can't think of anybody else who's done all three of those things and voiced them all as well.
Yeah. I don't know if there is.
No.
I think I may be the only one.
Yeah.
That's just extremely fortunate. Extremely fortunate.
And when the process of filming it, you say you're doing the voices, they're very different voices, that if George wanted to put Ki-Adi and Lot Dodd in a scene together or whatever, you could have kind of got away with it and people would have bought it. When you're filming it, were you aware... you say you'd not seen the films, so you're kind of beautifully fresh to it, but
yes.
You must have still got a sense of this is a big deal that we're making something substantial here.
Oh, yeah, totally. By the time I went on set, I had watched the movies because they released the silver edition.
Yeah.
So I went and saw those. I did my research and I read up on the whole thing, and then I was like, okay, this is quite a big world. This is something that I've totally missed out on, but it's huge.
Yeah.
And then I went and saw the three movies about a week, because they released them just before we started filming.
Yeah.
To kind of, regenerate the interest. And I went to see them for the first time in the cinema, all three in a row over one day. And it blew my mind. I was just like, wow, this is what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And then there was a little part of me was like, oh shit. I better not mess this up. But no, as soon as you walk into... We filmed the first one, Phantom Menace, in Leavesden Studios, which is an old aircraft hangar.
Yeah.
And the whole place was like this, times 3. There were 3 of these buildings about this size. And there were sets everywhere, and there were workshops, and there was a smell of glue, and there was, all kinds of fighter planes and, dummies and characters everywhere. And you walk in and it's like, oh my God, this is enormous.
Yeah.
Absolutely enormous, So, of course, I had then a sense of what I was involved with. But that never really, as an actor, that never really takes you over. because you're always thinking, okay, what is the work that I have to do? What do I need to do to be part of this story? And you bring it right down to your homework, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did have to pinch myself every once in a while. My first day of filming, I'm sitting there with Liam Neeson and Sam Jackson, and all these different, and George Lucas walking around the place. And you kind of pinch yourself and go, this is unbelievable that I'm here. It's what we do.
Absolutely. It must have been wonderful being on the sets to walk around Leavesden and see other sets being made and other things being built.
Yeah.
That you're part of this huge sort of organic thing that's being, sets being built, shot, knocked down, next set built, shot, knocked down. You're part of that process. And of course, your characters, lots of different parts of that story.
Yeah, the sheer enormity of it is incredible. But then, I've been on movie sets before. They are just massive industrial complexes. I'm constantly fascinated by the work that other people do. I know my gig. I know what I've got to do. But when you see these, digital effects people, and you see the model makers and stuff, I'm fascinated by what they do. I think they're all gods.
Yeah.
They're all amazing. And when it's on that scale, any movie, even a short film, it's unbelievable how many people are involved, how much work there is behind it. But anything on that scale is quite mind-boggling.
And when you're doing your parts, and when was Fantha made? 97. Comes out in
very long time ago.
Exactly. And comes out in 99.
I was a young man.
Another galaxy, another time. And then the film comes out and you see the final results. ILM have done their stuff. John Williams put his music on. All the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
How did you feel then?
Well, that is completely mind-blowing, because somebody asked me earlier on, there's a picture that I've got just at Order 66, just before Ki-Adi-Mundi's about to be killed.
Yeah.
And somebody said, very sweetly, is the snow real? And I was like, no, the snow is not real. In fact, there was nothing about that was real. It was me in front of a green screen. And Nick Gillard, who was, the fight coordinator, he said, just imagine there's bullets coming at you from every direction. So I'm literally going like that.
Yeah.
And then you go along and you watch the movie and you see what they've painted in front of you, all around you.
Yeah.
Every time I do that, they know that there's a character shooting a bullet that way. Or I do that, there's a character there. And they've built this whole scene, which they've painted digitally. None of it is real. That, to me, is absolutely mind-numbing, because I'm on set and I turn up and I see what I did on set in the context of this whole universe. That blows my mind.
Was that on the bridge?
Yeah. So seeing that, for me, is a bit like you guys seeing it. It's not the same as television, which is very naturalistic. I can place myself in my own mind when I'm doing a BBC series or something. I can place what it looks like. But when you do something with this amount of digital FX on it, you cannot place it in your own mind. So coming back to your question, when I go and see it for the first time, I'm as mind blown as you guys are. Just like, wow.
That's kind of a gift, though, isn't it? You know you're there. You know that's you, but wow, look at that.
The whole thing is a gift. The whole thing is a gift. Being part of Star Wars is a gift. Being an actor is a gift. Don't let any actor tell you any different. It's a huge privilege and it's a gift. To be part of that, it's just, I'm blessed. I consider myself blessed, yeah.
And having that unique, as we just said, the types of roles you did, the fact that you're in the trilogy, and you take that forward through your career and in life, that must be wonderful to be here with these good people and be able to talk about your experiences.
Yeah, listen, I didn't know as a child that I wanted to become an actor. I went on stage for the first time in my life when I was 17 years old in a school musical. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And of course, that was a long time ago. That was back in the early 80s. And all my school teachers were like, you cannot become an actor. you don't do that. Because I'd, been through this whole kind of public school system and done all of this, academic work. And they expected me to go on to university. The more they said, no, you can't do that, the more I was like, I'm going to do it. And I went to drama school. For me to still be here decades later is just, it's an absolute privilege. I didn't know that I would end up here. When I come back to these conventions and I meet all of you guys, and it reminds me what I'm part of, you know, I'm just continually grateful for it.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get
validates that decision that you made all those years ago in a way.
Yeah, totally.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Big round of applause, please, for Silas.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you guys.
Hi, this is Adrian Rawlins, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Next, it's Tops and Acme Archives artist Jay Manchand. Jay's an old friend of the show. We see him regularly at events around the UK, but it's the first time he'd ever been up on stage for a live interview. I was lucky enough to be the host, so here's me and Jay talking all about his work in the world of art.
Very much. Do I have to have my face very close to it, or is it?
Keep it nice and close.
Nice and close.
Like that. So everybody can hear everything you say. But don't put it to your temple because they can hear what you think. That's the worst.
Yeah,
don't do that.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. Anyway, enough of our private conversation. Back on stage here with Jay.
Hello.
We're going to talk art.
Yes.
It's a visual medium that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Give us a little sense of, well, first things first, you are over just the other side of where the guests are signing.
Yes.
So a lot of people might have seen your art today already.
Yeah, it's been incredibly busy today. Yeah. My table is looking a little sparse now.
Sparse is good.
Yes.
When you're planning for events like this, what's your main consideration? Is it to show off the artwork that you've got? Is it to sort of involve yourself and talk to new people? What's your sort of goal doing an event like this?
I guess for me it's interacting with people. I spend so much time in my little enclosed space in my studio working quietly. It's nice to interact with fans, talk about the things we love, talk about Star Wars, and yeah, show off my work, because it's a good opportunity to present my work to other people that might not have seen it.
Is it a solitary sort of calling, if you like? Because I imagine when you're prepping and obviously when you're doing it, you've really got to be in the zone.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I'll sit there, I'll have my little podcast on, or music. It can be solitary, although it's great on social media because I've made a lot of friends in the States that are other artists, collectors, so I'm always able to communicate with people, talk about what I'm doing within reason. A lot of the work I do is under NDA, so I'm not allowed to share everything. But then if there are other artists that are working on the same project, we can kind of bounce ideas off each other and talk to each other, get feedback, that kind of thing.
When you say working on other projects, I mean, and we'll get into some of the stuff you've done, but the thing I always think of first, I think I first got to know you through, is the Tops work.
Yes.
And so if you're doing a top set, and there's however many other artists on that set, is there a sense of, you know, they'll ask you to draw this, that and the other, another artist this, that and the other, but I guess if you're both drawing, I don't know, a Wampa, you don't want to be drawing the same moment of the Wampa, so is that the sort of collaboration that we're talking about?
It depends project to project. I mean, sometimes we get projects with very specific briefs. I don't know, if we're doing something that's based on a specific movie, then yeah, we will have to work within the guidelines, rules and regulations, that kind of thing. But also, there's a lot of creative freedom on most of the projects. What they tend to do is they will send an invite and say, how many pieces do you want to do for this project?
Yeah.
And I'll sign up and say however many I can fit in that short amount of time. And then they will usually just let you go and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
There is going to be crossover with characters. Everybody loves a Boba Fett. We're all going to be painting Boba Fett. But the great thing about it is everyone's got such a unique style that even if there's 10 Boba Fetts in a set, they're all going to be completely different. So I think collectors really appreciate that because they can collect their favourite characters in different mediums, different forms, different poses, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Weird question that literally just comes to me in the moment. When you've got a list of art to do and you know there's a deadline, and that's the big D word, isn't it? There's that deadline. Does that help you? Does that drive you? Is it a nightmare sort of train coming towards you down the tracks thing? How do you view a deadline? Because I'm a writer and I think deadlines are great because I can't mobilise myself without a deadline. Are you the same?
I love a deadline. It means I'm able to prioritise work. It means I'm able to sort my calendar out to know what projects I can take on. And then it also helps with each set that I do. if the deadlines are shorter, I can choose characters, aliens that may be a bit more simple to paint, don't take quite as long. Also, I paint with oils, which have a really long drying time as well, so I have to be able to prioritise longer drying and all that kind of thing. I have to take that into consideration too.
And these are all things that you've got to have spinning in the background. It's not just the creative element. There's very tangible, practical things you've got to sort of fold in as well.
Yeah, and what I tend to do with a set, if there's a lot of opportunity to do whatever you want, I tend to sort of theme a set. So different releases, I'll do all aliens from Jabba's palace, or I'll do a whole set of clones, and I'll do 30, 40 oil paintings just of various clones throughout Star Wars.
If you're doing a set for, let's say, tops, that's the first example, and they're small pieces like that, 2 questions. One, are you painting to that scale, or are you painting larger and reducing it down? And second, your process for painting a tops card, for example, compared to one of the Acme Archives pieces that you do, which is, much, much bigger. What's the difference between the two, or is there no difference?
Yeah, it varies on different projects. So with the tops cards, with the Acme Archives, it's different because it was a piece for Lucasfilm and Acme Archives. So there's a lot more communication between. So there'll be concept approval. There'll be different approval stages throughout the process. They'll come back if they need me to edit something out or change like a tiny little detail or something like that. Whereas the top stuff, I pretty much just paint it straight away. But the tops cards, I paint them at 2.5 by 3.5 inches, all in oils, dry them off, varnish them, and send them back. They go into the packs, and then collectors open the packs and find the cards. And it's really fun because obviously I'm spending so much time painting these cards, I forget that they then go out into the world. But now with apps like Whatnot, people are doing live breaks and opening the cases.
Right.
So I'm actually able to see collective reactions to opening my artwork.
Have you've seen that?
I've so many, the people tag me in them and I see it, and it's such a lovely feeling knowing that someone's happy with a piece of artwork they've received.
Because that's like, when a reaction video for a trailer kind of thing, isn't it? You as the artist is seeing that true reaction in the moment.
Yeah, I get to see them. Even sometimes it's crazy. They'll see my name on the back of the card, and they're excited because they have seen my work or followed me on social media.
Yeah.
And they'll be excited without even knowing which weird background alien I've painted.
That's kind of cool though, because outside of yourself and the guys at Tops, for example, nobody else has seen that artwork, have they?
Exactly. Yeah, it's all very top secret, literally.
See what you did there. So when you go to do something like Acme Archive, which must be such a thing for you, that's a big deal. The process, you mentioned approvals and sketches and iterations to get to where you need to get the artwork to be. Do you enjoy that collaborative process of sort of refining and getting it there? Or do you is there a little bit you're thinking, I wish I was doing, not wish I was doing the Tops thing, but I kind of know this, I can get it right the first time. Or do you enjoy the collaboration?
I enjoy the collaboration. I think because I work for different companies. You're wearing a Roosevelt shirt.
I am.
I have done work for Roosevelt's for their shirts, and each company is very different to work for. Have their own rules, their own regulations, their own sort of approach to things. I deal with a lot of different art directors, which is great. So yeah, I enjoy different aspects of different projects. With the Acme Archives, that was for me when I first started doing Star Wars artwork. I was kind of like, what is the pinnacle of career? What do I want to do? Where is my work going to go?
Yeah.
And Acme Archives, they do all the licensed prints. They've got the license to print all the Star Wars fine art editions. And that was kind of the goal that I'd been working towards. So for about 5 or 6 years, I'd been sending concepts to them,
Yeah.
And I was always painting things that I thought they would like. And then one day I just thought, I'm a Star Wars fan, right? Paint what I want to paint.
Yeah.
So I did a concept sketch of Ahsoka, sent it off to them, and straight away they came back and said, yeah, we like it, we'll run it to print. And I was like, why didn't I think of this 5 years ago?
But do you think as an artist, because obviously every piece you do, you're learning something. It might be the tiniest thing or the biggest thing. You know, every iteration of what you do makes you a better artist. Are you kind of, now you're doing it, thinking, actually, you know, maybe it was just the right time, the right thing at the right time?
I think it came at the right time. I'd developed my style. When I first started doing work with Star Wars, I was doing coloured pencil drawings. I liked the texture, I liked the way they looked, but it wasn't quite me. I liked the process of painting.
Yeah.
So I started painting with acrylics. Anyone paint with acrylics? They dry really quickly. I paint really slowly. Yeah. So I could paint with acrylics, but I wasn't quite as happy with the process or the end result. And people kept saying to me, "I'll never paint with oils. The process is an absolute nightmare." And they were right, but I love it.
But that suits your style.
Me, yeah.
Is that as important to you sometimes, the process of doing it, the route to getting there is as satisfying sometimes as what comes out at the end of it?
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, I've been working for Topps for 10 years. I've probably painted across all the different companies, all the different franchises, probably about 2,500 cards.
That's incredible.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where I've painted an image 5-6 years ago and forgotten I've done it.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to do it again, I'll paint it again, but it feels new. I can still find new ways to paint the same character, especially if it's like a really weird background character that's been on screen for all of 2 seconds and there's no reference images.
I was going to say, you've got some creative freedom then, some latitude to do something really unique. That must be kind of a buzz.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was growing up, I was watching Return of the Jedi. That was my movie. And I would sit and pause on the Jabba's palace scenes. And I would, with my shaky VHS, and I'd be trying to draw the characters in the background. And that's kind of where the love started. And it just continued on from now. And especially since we have so many different TV series now, so much creative process goes into creating the world building of the aliens and the background characters. I mean, that's what makes Star Wars, right? It's the entire universe. So for me, highlighting the obscure characters and things that blink and you'll miss them, you're not gonna see them. I'm able to do a small little painting that someone's going to open, and sometimes I get messages and they're like, "Jay, who is this you've painted again?" And I'm like, "Well, if you pause The Last Jedi right here," and they're like, "Great, thanks."
That's brilliant though, because I mean, I think back in the day when, like, I don't know if anybody remembers Star Wars Galaxy magazine, but you know, they'd have the training cards in there and they'd just highlight certain things. And back then when you didn't have the access to freeze frame on DVDs or freeze frame on anything really that wasn't a chunky VHS, to see those characters in any kind of definition was a huge deal. And that feels to me like that's what you've kind of zoned in on. There's a great value to that.
Absolutely. And now there's so much ancillary material with books, reference books, where when we do a set, we are encouraged to provide references where we've sourced them from, especially now with the internet. You never know where an image is coming from.
Yeah.
So I've got a stack of all these different books with all weird niche little characters that I'm able to highlight and, kind of pay attention to the smaller characters that don't have huge roles.
Now you've done the Acme archive work and you're on that train now, are you in a place as an artist for now, because we all want to do different things eventually, but are you in a really good place with it all now?
I'm very happy with the work that I've done so far. Obviously, when you achieve the thing that you want to do, you've then got to think about the next step.
Yeah.
There's things that I would like to do, so it's just a case of figuring out what the next project, what works. But at the same time, even Topps as a company has changed so much that they're finding really new and interesting ways to integrate artists into their projects. So even doing the Topps work still feels really new.
That's fascinating. That's really interesting. Thank you so much for coming up and giving us an insight into the artwork. Big round of applause for Jay, please.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Finally, from this edition of Festival of the Force, it's 2 pilots of the Rebel Alliance. First, it's Jack Klaff, who was an X-Wing pilot in the Death Star run in A New Hope, and Richard Oldfield, a snowspeeder pilot from The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, everyone. Final panel of the day already. This has come round way too fast. I'm joined by Jack and by Richard. You both performed in the original trilogy. You both played pilots. Richard in Empire, Jack in A New Hope. Is there any kind of relationship, kinship, fellowship between the pilots? Or was what you guys did just so completely separate that, you know... Oh, just I think your mic's not quite on. There you go.
Do you mean during the filming?
No, because you were on separate films, but just out in the world of conventions and stuff.
The pilots, we bump into each other every now and again at these conventions. The Star Wars is actually like a kind of a big family, and it's really good to keep in touch with everybody, once or twice, 3 times a year.
Yeah. You enjoy these events, you enjoy getting together and having the chance to...
It's really nice to meet the fans. I mean, I haven't been doing these conventions for very long, and I didn't really realize how much it meant to a lot of you to have a little bit of piece of Star Wars that to remember that you felt when you first saw the first films, when you first saw those credits coming forward. I think that most of you probably know and remember when you first saw The New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. And it was kind of, although there had been lots of sci-fi films before, but Lucas was very clever. He made it more like a Western than anything else. But the music and the titles coming forward and the spaceships, I had never seen anything like that before when I saw the New Hope, and was thrilled to, even if it was a smallish part, to play in Empire Strikes Back.
And Jack, similar question.
Say again?
Similar question, being in A New Hope and... Yeah.
Well, we were in different movies, so we met this morning.
Wow.
He's a great guy, but this is the first time we met. But with the ones who were in A New Hope, well, there's 1 or 2 people. Am I right in thinking you said you only recently started to? Yeah, because there was a man called Angus McInnes. He died, as I'm sure you know. He was a dear friend of mine. Garrick's over there, and I'm here. Thank God we made it through lunchtime. It sort of survived. And I knew quite a few of them, and you would bump into them, not necessarily just in conventions. Angus McInnes, I worked with him twice in the theatre, and you bump into people and so on. And there's always a kind of a camaraderie. But you must understand, when this movie, when I was first in it, my agent thought it was called Stan Wars. She thought it was a misprint. No one understood. No one had any idea what it was going to be like. And there was a filming day that I didn't even do because my agent said, he's a classical actor. He's not going to get, So I think Dennis Lawson did a scene that I was supposed to be in, kind of thing. I've no idea. No one knew it was going to be this big. And I remember being in Stratford-on-Avon doing Shakespeare and arriving, going back to have my tea in the canteen kind of thing. And this woman came up to me and she said, I really like that Shakespeare. Were you in Star Wars? I've seen it 88 times. I mean, she'd already seen it at that point, that often. So none of us had any idea what it was going to be like. We remembered it and we had no idea. And I'll tell you, there's one guy who's one of the X-Wings, the original X-Wings, who doesn't do conventions at all. And in fact, I haven't spoken to him literally for half a century. I have his email now. I'm going to email him on Monday. So, some of us have stayed in touch. Garrick and I have seen him in the theatre many times. There's quite a few, and some of them I haven't seen ever.
That's crazy that not the crazy, that's a terrible thing to say, that somebody could be in Star Wars and not have wanted to or thought to engage with something as interesting as this. But I guess that's not for everybody, is it?
Well, it's not a matter of not engaging. I mean, it was in the old days, you signed an autograph and you sent it off and it was all very grand. And so there were some people who thought they were too grand to do it. That's a different thing from engaging with the public.
Yeah.
Some actors who don't want to. Some actors know these are the people who keep us alive. One needs to. It's very important that in my view, the audience is the most important person in all of drama.
Richard, when you made Empire Strikes Back, what was the process? Because it was made, I think you would have filmed your stuff in 79?
Yeah.
So what was the process for you? Obviously Star Wars had come out and had been a big hit, so did you know much about the film?
I saw the first Star Wars, which I loved. My role was just a normal audition and acting job that I took. It was filmed in Elstree Studios in north of London. I didn't really know that much. Well, you probably didn't know either. When you went in, there was no script, nothing. They gave me this line, the two fighters against a Star Destroyer line, and we did that scene with Carrie Fisher. But it was all very low tech. It was a huge sound stage. In the fighter pilot scenes, I'm sure it was the same for you. When you sat in the cockpit, I believe it was like almost a milk crate you sat on. And there were two stagehands with broomsticks rocking it. And in my case, to see the eye line, it was was it blue screen or green screen back then? Blue screen?
Blue screen.
Yeah.
It was a tennis ball and a stick for your eye line. So it's very low tech compared to what was happening then. But the thing that I found most fascinating was watching the technicians make all these cowls for the engines and things, carving that out of corrugated board out in Elstree Studio in the lot. I don't know if you never saw them doing it, and spraying it and making it, and you couldn't really touch anything on your outfit because it would tend to fall off, so it was also sort of glued on. Those buttons and things, they were just bits of polystyrene and things. Again, it's very low tech, but in the film it looked so amazing.
And Jack, with your circumstances, obviously you were in the film before Richard.
Yeah, I was in well, no one knew what it was going to be like. I did meet Mark Hamill. I never met anyone else of the big stars. And, it's exactly the same. Although I have to say the platform I was on was, wooden things. I think they may have cut down on the staff because I had about 8 people moving the board around, and so I didn't have to act, shaking like this. They did it for me, and there were no dressing or anything. There was all my gears and stuff. I think that was all put in later, and the blue screen. It was all done later, and they just said George Lucas was very quiet. He just said, "Hi, how you doing? Do you mind if we blow you up?" Not at all. It's fine. They blew me up, and then once I was blown up, they gave me a wet rag. And that was it. I had to look there and say my line, which was "Red Forest standing by arm hit," and that was it. So it wasn't exactly a taxing acting job. It was a really interesting thing because the first assistant, in my case, the first assistant was really loud, so he just yelled and yelled, and then but George Lucas was very, very quiet, and then when I left, he just said, "Good job." That was it.
You took that. That was good.
I took that. Thank you, George. Yeah, good job. But nobody knew it was going to be so big. And Mark Hamill was saying, I can't say these lines. I can't say these words. You know, they'll say that. They'll tell you a lot. They found the dialogue really difficult, those people. And he does as a party piece. He does one of the... You've seen that, haven't you? He does a speech which, you know, it's just words about technology. That's it. But anyway, it's a huge hit. And I just want to say, it's based on old religious storytelling. It's based on myth. It's there to engage you. And it's done through Joseph Campbell and the whole history of storytelling. So no wonder it's pretty much, it's not far off religion, actually.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, Star Wars fan, Fantha Tracks fan.
It's interesting you say that because, and we've said it to a lot of the guests, and it's true of most people involved in Star Wars, there's lots of little pieces of which performances, visual effects, music, all stitched together to make this big whole. And yet, as you just said, there's a subtext to it, there's a weight to it that you don't really know that's there until you see the final product. What did you make of...
George Lucas was very clever. After the first New Hope, after the first movie, I believe the studio did not want to make another one. They thought that the market for science fiction was too small. What they didn't really realize is that he made it, apart from the religious storytelling, he made it like a Western, which appealed to a much broader base than other people. If you think about it, there's the good guy, there's Mark Hamill, good guy, the bad guy, Darth Vader, Luke, the baddie, what's his name?
The Emperor.
Harrison Ford, and the bounty hunter, Greedo, and it all comes together like a Western, which appeals to, and the good versus evil part of it, and it all comes down to a very relatable thing for the audience to really get their teeth into, and I think that's quite a lot of why it was so successful.
That's a really great point, actually, because it was so relatable. It cottoned on. I was 6 when Star Wars came out, so perfect age to latch on to that. And here I am at 54, still sitting here invested and talking about it. And I'm sure you guys are all the same. We all come on at different points, but we're still invested in it. To be involved with a project, I'll start with you, Richard. To be involved in a project like that, that's caught the imagination of literally the world, must be a joy.
Well, it was. I mean, at the time, nobody knew that was going to come into this. And afterwards, I mean, I went on to, I mean, I was mainly in theater and bad television. I've done some really bad television. And doing these small bits of movies was a way to subsidize your theater career, because it didn't pay anywhere near, well, yours probably paid more, but mine didn't pay that much. But it was, as time went on, I never forgot, it was one of the funnest acting jobs I've had in, I've done a lot of the American films. There's a lot of the North American actors who were in the British Union got cast to do, I mean, most of the Supermans and all the Omen films and stuff like that. And a lot of times you got cut out of it, but sometimes you got a little bit of it, but it was always sort of good fun to do.
Brilliant. And Jack, similar question. I mean, being involved in the film and then carrying that forward through your life and your career to the point that here today, you're in Newark talking to these folks.
It's fantastic. And you know, I mean, you all look young to me. Mind you, the popes are looking young to me. Ooh. But, you know, and people, you know, it goes down through generations. That's a fantastic thing. But please understand, you know, in an actor's life, you do a lot of different things. One hopes you're going to do a lot of different things. Theatre, as you say, radio, television, film, so on. I mean, Star Wars was 2 days out of my life 50 years ago. And I was called in. I was lucky I didn't audition. The casting woman had seen me. and I guess, I look quite fit or something, and so I was just asked to go out. So it's 2 days out of my entire life, and I had no idea what it was going to become. And I've seen it once, and so people ask me questions about this and that and this character, and I don't have a clue. It so happened that at the same time I was in space in 1999. I don't know how many of you remember that, but that was produced by a guy called Freddie Freiberger, who a lot of Star Trek and Space 99 people don't like because there's another guy who's much better and so on. But that one I auditioned for, and I went in. They told me to stand up straight. They were, oh, lovely. I was wearing my university blazer, and Freddie came in, Freddie Freiberger, and said, hi, where's the yacht? And they said, okay, read. And I said, the costume, he was stand up straight, stand up straight. And I said, you can't come in here, Commander. I said, you can't come in here, Commander. And Freddie Freiberger went, Jesus, Jesus. I thought he was going to kill me. And then he said, we have an actor trained in England, and he says Commander and can't. He doesn't say Commander and can't. Kid, you got yourself a job. And so these early things that I did, which was science fiction-y. Of course, there's a lot of science fiction-y people really interested in that. And by the way, much later, I started to write about science myself and deal with these phenomena. But Star Wars Space 99 was dealing with a lot of sciencey things. Star Wars was, as you say, it was very like a Western, number one, and number two, it had the same thing that Westerns have, which is this, mythology. There's someone in the ordinary world, along comes a call, mentor takes them, and so on.
That's fantastic. Thank you guys so much for your time. Really appreciate it. A big round of applause. Thank you.
Email radio@fanthatracks.com. Head to links.fanthatracks.com for links to our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio. Thanks to James Semple for the Fantha Tracks intro, Blues Harvest for our Making Tracks opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. New episodes drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 7 o'clock UK time. Our weekly news show, Good Morning Tatooine, goes live Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, Fantha Tracks is absolutely free, so it costs nothing to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.